where do you think you would be if you had never gone down that road?
Probably out of business.
This week, we're joined by Kevin Hurley from Hurley Fitness.
Nobody's doing strength training for 50 plus people. I'm going to make myself stand out.
People throw around the word community quite a lot without actually really doing anything proactive.
So I was always like sort of an ostrich sticking my head in the sand about the numbers, trying to sort of avoid it a little bit. This is the secret to really understanding the language of business. It hurts me that this happened, but I've had people walk out during a consultation because I pushed them too hard.
Oh, really? Wow.
And you need to work on yourself. You cannot run a business without running yourself. What I've learned is there's 3 stages of a business cycle. There's a technician, who's the personal trainer, there's the manager, and then there's the entrepreneur. And a massive mistake is...
We hope you enjoyed the episode. This podcast is brought to you by Legit Fit. Are you spending more time doing boring admin tasks rather than the jobs you love in your business? Are you finding your current software is providing more headaches than it is solutions? Then it's time to switch to Legit Fit. At FMA, we aim to deliver nothing but the best for our members, and that goes for the companies we partner with too. Legit Fit stands out from the crowd for several reasons. The product is slick and easy to use. They've built it based on user feedback and consistently add the most in-demand features to the platform. And finally, what really sets them apart from a lot of people is they provide world-class customer service with over 1,750 fitness professionals using Legit Fit and more switching over every day. If you want to know more about how Legit Fit can help you grow, scale, and manage your business, click the link around this video or go to legitfit.com. Kevin, thank you for coming down. Good to see you. And let's just jump straight in. Can we just start with the name of the business, the model of the business, where you're based, and kind of what the setup is in terms of like sessions and how that operates, and give me a bit of a run through.
Okay, the business is called Hurley Fitness. We're based in Ely, Cambridgeshire, and we are predominantly small group personal training, and we do run one-to-one sessions during the day. We generally run from 6:30 a.m. through to about 10:30, small group, and then we come back in the evening, 5 till 9. Got 3 coaches currently, and that's
nice. And what's the price point of the service?
We have 2 memberships, 159 for what we call PT8, which is 8 strength sessions, and PT12, which is 209. And all memberships have access to team training, 2 team training sessions per week.
Okay, great. And just to confirm, what was the kind of coach structure? So it's 1 to...
predominantly 9 to 1.
Yeah.
And on the busier times, we have 2 coaches, which is 6 to 1.
Okay, great. So it varies on different times of the day. Will depend on how many people can go in the session.
Yeah. For example, 9:30 a.m. Monday and Friday, 5 and 6 p.m. Monday and Friday are generally busier. So, and there's waiting lists. So we bring in 2 coaches and increase the capacity just to cope with that.
Awesome. And how many members do you currently service at the moment?
Around 110.
Okay, cool. And before we were recording, it was really interesting speaking to you because you were saying that you were trying for a while to grow the business and get things to click, but it just wasn't working. And I'd love to kind of dive into more of what wasn't working and why it wasn't working and what you did to finally get things moving in the right direction. So if you could just kind of, well, I'll just kind of set the context is that you've got an area with quite a lot of competition, but from also what you said, but also from what I believe is that, you know, the competition isn't better than you in terms of coaching, but there were things that were potentially holding the business back. Mm-hmm. So if you kind of run through what was kind of going on at that point in time. Yeah,
well, for a very long time, I was by myself and we were bobbling around 20, 30 members. And I was looking around local boot camps that had, you know, like large numbers. And just from looking at their social media and maybe understanding the type of service that they ran and the type of person that they were that was coming across in their videos, I thought, you know what, I'm better than that. And I couldn't understand why the business wasn't growing. So generally, in hindsight, the business wasn't good enough, and probably a bigger part of that was that I wasn't good enough. My mindset, my standards, my attitude. So I really had to work on myself first of all before I was able to help people or help the business grow.
And let's touch on that, because before we go into the tangibles of what you did with the business and kind of dive into that mindset and personal development, again, we were speaking before recording this podcast, and you were telling me about the personal development that you did and do now. So first of all, before we go into what you do, why is it that you have a large focus on personal development and have done for many years?
I think it's quite simple. I think the mindset is central to life itself, never mind running a business, but whatever goes on between your ears is how you perceive life. So if you can improve that and fix that, every day can largely be a positive experience. And I just work every single day, every single night on how I think and how tomorrow is going to be. So I will tell myself how I'm going to feel the next morning, how I'm going to feel going to bed. And I do a lot of visualization about my family, about the business, about how I want people to perceive me. And I think that's generally changed how I think about every single aspect of my life and improved it.
And I 100% agree. I genuinely believe that mindset is the foundation to anything. And as you said, it will shape how you look at the world and change your perspective. Essentially, it puts, tinted, your mindset is like wearing like sunglasses, and depending on what your mindset is will depend on the shade of those glasses and actually change and alter the reality that you view on a day-to-day basis. And you said that not anymore, but you used to watch a Tony Robbins video daily.
Yeah, that was the start. So, I sort of came across him and other people sort of recommended him. So I just watched one video before I started my personal training every single morning. Learned more about mindset, how you can, affect your subconscious mind, which is 90% of how you think. And I just said, right, this is going to improve my life. I'm going to be consistent with this. I'm going to learn more about it. And it's been life-changing. And I think fitness businesses should be 50% or maybe more about mindset as opposed to the training and nutrition.
And, many people, including fitness professionals, will spend a lot of time training their bodies in the gym physically to improve their muscles, but maybe not do any sort of personal development at all. And if I was to come at you with a potential thought of someone that doesn't do any sort of personal development and say, oh, that stuff's a little bit woo-woo, or I feel a little bit cringe doing mindset or personal development or anything like that, what would you say to someone that has that certain perspective?
Well, I don't know if this answers your question or it's helpful, but from what I've researched, the subconscious mind is about 90% of how you think, and the subconscious mind cannot reason. So, for example, the conscious mind can reason. If you see a spider or a fire, your conscious mind says, "Do not touch, danger." But the subconscious mind will simply believe what you tell it. An example I gave to you earlier was somebody says, "I'm crap, I can't do that, this never works." Guess what happens? It just unfolds before them in that way. So, for example, I would go to bed at night and I would actually command, I know it sounds a bit airy-fairy, but I command my subconscious mind to give me the positivity that I need the next day. And I actually tell it how I'm going to feel. I use positive words, I visualize, and I say, "See you tomorrow." And again, it's been life-changing for me, and I'm a much more positive, happy, fulfilled person because of it.
I love it. And again, I just agree with everything that you're saying there. And if anyone is struggling in any area of business, a lot of the time it can just be down to the mindset of that individual. So an example, and we'll go into this in more detail later on, but it could be, oh, I can't sell over the phone, or I can't sell at all, or I don't like sales. And actually, it's not that you as a person can't sell, it's that you believe that you can't sell, or you believe you shouldn't do something a certain way. And it all starts with the belief and perception you have will have a massive impact on the end outcome of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. And do you have any kind of resources or any books or anything that you could recommend someone listening right now, or maybe a good place to start? Let's say they haven't done any personal development ever, or they haven't done it for a really, really long time. Is there anything you would recommend them? It could be a book, video series, exercise, whatever that is.
The one that jumps immediately in my mind is the chimp paradox. I don't know if you've read that. Have you read it yourself?
Yes. It talks about the 3 different areas of the brain. You've got the chimp, then there's the computer, and then there's the one in the middle, which I forgot.
Same here.
Yeah.
But I think a chimpanzee is about 5 times stronger than a human, and our subconscious mind is 5 times stronger. So often we'll battle with our subconscious mind, and you're never going to win. So you're going to have to really focus on that and learn to nurture it and help it. And again, it sort of taps into what we said earlier about visualization and commanding it to do what you want.
Yeah, and that book is called The Chimp Paradox. And it's interesting. I recorded a podcast a couple of days ago, and someone was telling me a skill that they had developed was not reacting and taking time to process the information of a scenario and then responding sometime later, but having processed that. And that's actually very similar to the concepts of what they teach in that book, where the chimp will be the part of the brain that reacts very quickly without thinking. And a lot of the, let's say, there could be an embarrassing moment where maybe you've reacted badly in the past or done something. That's typically the part of the brain that is responsible for that behavior. So that person that was on the podcast is referencing that part of the brain that he's been able to learn to actually digest the information and respond in a different way. So that's definitely a great book and a great recommendation there. And
can I just add something in
course.
there? It also relates to fitness business. I'm a massive believer, and to be honest, I don't do enough of it, but fitness professionals will tend to focus on obviously the training and nutrition. And if we focus on nutrition, I'll go to a typical trainer and they'll say, this person's eating shit. They're having Jaffa cakes for breakfast, a Muller yogurt for lunch, and I'm going to get them to eat 100 grams of protein or 200 grams, get them really protein centric. And I had this conversation last week. That's like somebody looking up at the top of Mount Everest and thinking, shit, how do I get up there? And 100% of the time when somebody says to me, Kevin, look, I'm struggling with my nutrition, can we have a chat? I know for a fact we're not going to talk about food. So they're going to go on and I say to them, what's up? I'm just, randomly, I'm on a computer eating biscuits during the day. Okay, so why are you doing that? It's usually boredom. It's usually sort of a negative emotion. It's usually betrayal. It's stress. And then we can say, okay, so how can we deal with stress better? So it's all really about mindset, emotion, and nutrition has got very little to do with it. So I think that's why people should focus more on mindset as well as fitness.
And what you've just said there can be applied to business. It's not necessarily about the thing that you're struggling to do. It's actually the mindset that comes down with it. And there's, not one successful person I know that doesn't have a very dialed in mindset. And it's not just about being positive, right? It's actually about training your brain and your mind to, you said it earlier, to think a certain way. Mm-hmm. You're disciplining yourself to think and look at situations in a certain way to benefit you on a day-to-day basis. And you say you do it daily as well?
Every morning after I wake up and before bed. So I'll give thanks, gratitude. My kids are obviously the biggest gift I've ever, the miracles. I think about them and I thank whoever it is. Don't know if it's the universe, God, or something else. I'll just say thank you. And it has a massive impact.
Amazing. And again, mindset is the foundation piece to success in any field, in my belief. And then you also said that there were things going wrong in the business that you needed to address, one of them being mindset, but then obviously there were things in the business that just weren't going the right way. So what was it you did? What was that first step you took to actually start identifying what was going wrong in the business? So you were at 30 clients, obviously revenue a little bit low, and you wanted to get it up and improve the business. What was the next step that you took to start improving that?
There was no real system in place. The trainers who were there were just bodies. There was no management. It was basically inexperience on my behalf. But I had to go through that experience to learn. But there was just random trainers doing things their way. I would go over and correct and say, but he said to do it this way. So there was no uniformity. So that was a big thing, getting the coaching staff all on the same page. Obviously, we have different personalities, but we must provide the same level of service, use the same language, try not to confuse people, and always be, like this, no matter who's there at any stage of the day.
And how was it you kind of came about implementing those systems? Because I think there was a point where someone just told you that here's what's going wrong and here's what you need to improve. It was quite black and white. Is that correct?
Yeah, that person was very, very black and white and didn't take any crap. So when we had our call, for example, they just used to go through me.
Yeah, and they've actually been on the podcast. So this was JC, wasn't it?
Shout out to John Claude for Casson.
Yeah. So he sat down and just went through the business and identified everything that was going wrong at the time.
Yeah, and I've heard him use this expression a few times, but he said, Kevin, this is like back of the fag packet stuff. So I was not thinking like a business owner. I was thinking like a trainer. I was thinking emotionally. And that was probably the biggest cause of the problems in the business.
And do you think the key lesson or the key philosophy that you took from those learnings?
I think have the highest standards, of course, but I think the thinking that got me like bumbling along to that period where I was knocking around 20, 30 clients, it was never going to get better if I didn't improve me, first of all. But I also had getting to 30 clients and getting to 100, you have to think differently. I'm in the stage now where I'm trying to get to 150, 200, so I'm going to have to change my thinking again. It's very difficult, but it's exciting at the same time.
I love what you said to me off of the podcast again, where you were talking about you're just constantly looking at every area, thinking, where can I improve the standards? And you visited a couple of gyms that are near us, and again, you're getting ideas and thinking, how can I improve that? You know, even down to things like the music that's being played. You were asking questions before in terms of how you're doing it and how they do it, and what would be the difference if potentially you made a change or not. And is that something that you're doing on a consistent basis?
Oh, mate, one thing I did take away is I'm probably too much thinking about everything all the time. So we have quite high standards. We talk to each other about how we coach, the technique, what we want to see, almost to the nth degree. And I'm constantly thinking, constantly cleaning. Everything must be perfect. I remember watching a bit of a silly sort of documentary about Belfast. The Europe Hotel's the biggest hotel in Belfast, the most famous. And I remember like the eccentric manager walked in and he just looked around and he went, "Get rid of that mat." And he said, "That's the first thing the person's going to see. That's got a fray in the corner." And I said, "That's like me." And the coaches think you're thinking too deeply about this. This doesn't count. But I'm of that mindset. As soon as a person walks in, what they see, how they're spoken to, how they're welcomed, what the toilet looks like, the smell, volume of the music, every single thing I think about to make it the highest and best it can be.
And throughout your journey running this business, have you always had some sort of mentorship that's been able to help you along the way?
No, not in the beginning. I think I sort of made the transition from busy one-to-one, stressed one-to-one trainer, burnt out, to small group training in about, I think it was 2017 or 18 maybe. Yeah,
so you transitioned 2017, and is that when you got a mentorship, or a little bit after that?
I got I took on the mentorship because I wanted to move from one-to-one to small group. I realised that was the next stage.
Yeah, I guess where I'm going with this is where do you think you would be if you never seeked that mentorship, never found that blueprint, never seeked the advice of others? Where do you think you would be if you had never gone down that road?
Probably out of business, because like the pandemic hit, and obviously I was with JC and the IFB at that time. It was a massive help, bouncing off that network of people who were really quite experienced and ahead of me in their journey. So I would have winged it, and God, no, I honestly don't know, but probably out of business.
Yeah, and what would you say to anyone right now that is listening that has no current mentorship or has never sought help from others and is just trying to figure it out themselves? And I'll speak more specifically to the person that is trying to figure it out themselves to save money.
Yeah. And you know what? I remember being in that sort of mindset, and something jumps into my mind about Tony Robbins, and it really annoyed me. But in hindsight, in the stage I am now, I understand that he said, if you want to take the island, you've got to burn the boats. So what'll happen is, and I've done it, you'll dip your toe into certain things, and just you'll have that backup plan, that plan B, just in case it doesn't work out. But of course, you never fully go for it. You never fully commit. And it's probably relates to mentorship. Success leaves clues. Guessing things by yourself either takes longer or it doesn't work. So you're better investing that and getting there quicker and having the accountability, the experience, the shoulder to.
I love that quote. If you're going to take the island, make sure you burn the boats. I've heard that before, but not for a while.
I hated it at the time, but I understand it now.
Yeah, because essentially what that does is it produces a gun to your head mentality where you've got to produce or there's going to be consequences essentially. Yeah. Whereas if you've got a very lovely safety net. There's no urgency for you to take action, and you're in a place of comfort, and nothing extraordinary happens in places of comfort. It happens in places of uncomfort. So let's say someone's thinking about getting that mentor or investing, but there's a scary feeling because it's a significant investment of time, energy, resources. Good, because that's probably a sign that that's actually going to be going to have a positive impact for you and the business. And if it doesn't feel a little bit scary, it's probably not going to be the thing that's going to give you the dramatic growth.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And at the moment you are working with Fitness Business Development Academy.
That's right.
Nikki Segal. Is it Nikki you specifically work with, or is it one of the team?
James Bramwell, who's also done an amazing podcast.
Nice. And obviously you worked with IFBA and they helped you raise the standards across the board, whether it be the service, the facility, the cleanliness, and kind of going into those minute details. And then later on down the line, those guys aren't around anymore, but did a great job for many, many gyms. But now you're working with Fitness Business Development Academy. What was it you went to them for? What was it you were looking at your business and going, this still needs to be worked on and improved, and I need some additional help?
It was originally to really understand numbers. With JC, everything improved. A lot of standards, like I said. My weakness was still the numbers. And your listeners or your people who watch might be interested, and they might know this, but there's what I've learned is there's 3 stages of a business cycle. There's the technician, who's the personal trainer, there's the manager, and then there's the entrepreneur. And a massive mistake is somebody's really busy, they're really good technician, really good personal trainer. They take on staff because they want to expand the business. They jump to becoming an entrepreneur. But of course, the management level's been missed out. Things go to shit. Business starts doing this, and I did that. I stepped back too quickly. So I was always like sort of an ostrich, sticking my head in the sand about the numbers, trying to sort of avoid it a little bit. But I guess it became too painful for me, and I just felt maybe unfulfilled, or I realized that this is the secret to really understanding the language of business. So I want to learn about it. I asked a few questions I think it was in the FMA group, got speaking to Nikki, had a bit of a trial period, and I sort of understood, this is going to help me.
This episode is brought to you by the Fitness Business Development Academy. Are you running your fitness business, or is your fitness business running you? Are you frustrated that with all the effort you're making within your business every single day, at the end of the month, you're still not making as much profit than you'd like to? If so, the FBDA are the guys for you. These are some of the best business coaches within the fitness industry and have personally helped many of our clients here at Fitness Marketing Agency. If you want to find out how you can go from frustrated and stuck to clear and have clarity and more profit in your fitness business, these are the guys for you. If you want to find out more and book a free strategy call, all you need to do is go to www.thefbda.com. Awesome. And what would you say the main, and I know you've mentioned it just there, are the numbers, what would you say the main shift has been within your business since working with those guys before and now?
Well, again, it is related to numbers. I think I mentioned to you earlier, just really taking the emotion out of business. So we all get that email from people saying, I want to leave, or the coach wants to leave, and it's very, very, your emotions are sky high, and it's easy to think everything's going to shit, this is crap. But when you actually go into your spreadsheet, look at the numbers, see the impact it's having, you realize we're actually okay. And that creates a sort of calmness, a tranquility, and a confidence in the business, and a confidence in yourself that we're actually doing okay here. And
so beforehand, did you really not have much visibility on the KPIs or the stats within the business of what was going on?
I knew what KPI stood for, but no, mate, honestly, it was sticking your finger in the air, hoping the wind blows the right way, not understanding how much tax to save, what the net profit was, gross profit, hadn't got a flipping baldy notion.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the biggest mistakes people make, is that maybe they think they know their numbers, or they've got a rough idea, but most people in the fitness industry didn't get into the fitness industry because they wanted to be really good at spreadsheets. They got in it because they wanted to help people be healthier and happier. But ultimately, the best businesses have the best systems, and the best systems, you're able to see and identify the exact areas of the business that are going well and that need improving, and then you can make adjustments accordingly. So having that info and data is so vital if you want to actually build a long-lasting business.
Understanding retention is a big one.
Yeah.
So you can feel that things are going absolutely in the wrong directions, but when you look, and as long as your retention's over 95%, everything's okay.
But going back to, you mentioned being emotional about these things, a lot of people think their retention is really good emotionally, but when you are able to put it on data, you're actually potentially able to see a different story. So I've had countless people say, once they come through the door, they stay for ages, and only the people that leave, it's because they move, they become pregnant, their work changes. It's always some sort of excuse that isn't about them.
Yeah.
But the reality is a good portion of those people are probably leaving for another reason they're not telling you. So when you can actually look at the data and see how many people are leaving, it's not just an idea in your head of, most people stay with us for ages. You can really see how long they're staying with you, how long you're making, what the monthly retention rate is. Then you can actually have a real accurate idea of what's going on a day-to-day, weekly and monthly basis there.
Yeah.
And speaking of retention, again, off recording this podcast, you're saying that your retention has been pretty decent recently. What's your attrition rate on a monthly basis, do you know?
We'll lose about 3 people maximum, thankfully, each month.
Awesome. So that's less than 3%. Anywhere below 5 is acceptable, generally speaking. To have it below 3.
As long as it's around 95 and above, you're okay. I think you can have a blip. I think we had one month where it was like 92 or 90 or something like that, and I was like, shit. But again, going to the business head, it was like, don't panic. If this is happening every single month, then we have an issue. Let's see the next month and see what happens. Next month was like 98 or something like that.
And that's where tracking your numbers comes into it, because you have one month where it's like, wow, what's going on here? But on a macro scale, you can see actually everything's okay. On a macro scale, on an average, we're still doing pretty good. So again, if it was happening 3 months in a row, that's very problematic. But one in a blue moon, which everyone has, completely okay. What is it you've done in the business to maintain a good attrition rate over time?
I think the biggest impact on everything has been community. It's one thing, okay, now I think about it, it's one thing that the IFBA taught me. So we are very big. We do like something at least once a month. For example, next Saturday, we have a barbecue at my house. We've got, I think, about 70 people coming.
Wow.
I hire a local farm to do catering. We put on all the alcohol, maybe a few games, music. Hopefully the weather's good. It's one of the highlights of my year for the gym. But we have things like that every single month, even whether it be an adventure walk, or last week we had a menopause seminar. Just getting people together, because I think that I've learned that the success of a fitness business is, I think, like 90% community. If the people like each other, they like the coaches, they form the relationships, they want to stay. They're going to a commercial gym and they're on a cross trainer by themselves. That's why they're not enjoying it. They're isolated. They want to leave.
That's such a good turnout. For you got 110 members, and then you've got 70 people coming. Now, of course, some people may bring a partner or stuff like
children.
that, but still 70 people. It's going to be chaos in the back garden.
Got a big garden.
Yeah. And so you do a barbecue, you've done a walk, you've done workshops. What other types of stuff have you done just to give people some inspiration?
We do fitness games. So we do maybe like a sort of winter games and a summer games or spring games. That's all. The numbers are getting quite tight in the gym now because of our capacity, but people really love that. It becomes incredibly competitive, as you could imagine. People love it. Give them all a T-shirt. Break people into teams of 10, get them on a skier, greatest distance wins. It's just phenomenal. We also do sort of we're not really a weight loss facility. Weight loss kind of bores me a little bit, if I'm honest. So we focus mostly on performance, consistency, feeling good, mindset. I try and steer people away from scales. Don't talk about it. Why are you doing that? Let's focus on how you think, how you feel. So, but we do nutrition accelerators for maybe 4 weeks, twice a year. We get people together in teams. They sort of go walks together. They drink more water. They get to bed early. So that's a bit of a community thing as well.
When you first started doing these community events, did you ever have somewhere there was quite a low turnout initially? Because this is just a thought that's come to mind. I had a client that said, I tried to do this event and only a few people came, so I don't think we're going to do any more. And my response was, well, no, you should be consistent and do more of them, because that was the first one you've done. And maybe they've seen someone else who's got 100 people there, but if it's the first event you've done, you need to do more and more, and gradually it'll build up. So have you ever had any, at the start, was it a small amount and has it built up over time?
Always, yeah. It's just like an animal. You've got to nurture it and sort of like promote it and push it, and obviously word of mouth. That person might say that I walked with Charlie last week. It was great fun. It was really good for my mental health. We saw this, that. We had a coffee. Friend comes, next thing it'll build. And yeah, you just got to nurture it, build it up. And it's so important. You should really focus on it. That's the best advice I would give people.
Yeah.
Focus on community in your facility.
It's like community is its own separate entity. As you said, it could be like an animal or a plant. It's something that actually needs to be nurtured and watered and fed consistently and really proactively as well. And from that, it will grow and become bigger and stronger. I think that's a really, really good way to actually look at it, because people throw around the word community quite a lot without actually really doing anything proactive to actually grow it and nurture it. But I think that's a really, really great way to phrase that right there.
Yeah.
Now, in your area, just a slight change of subject, in your area, you've got quite a lot, you mentioned this at the start, quite a lot of competition there as well. How have you been able to kind of overcome that? And when I talk about competition, you've got a lot of different types of people, but you've also got people that advertise quite heavily in the area. And, obviously you know this, but just to explain people that are listening, let's say you're running ads on Meta, Facebook, Instagram. It's a little bit like real estate in terms of if someone's placing an ad out there and you're placing an ad out in the same place, one, it's going to compete, but two, it will cost more to have your stuff shown because there's more adverts being shown to a select amount of people. So how have you dealt with that over the years of, I guess also emotionally, right? It can be frustrating having competition when maybe they steal your stuff, your ideas, your creative, but then also from a business perspective, how you've been able to overcome that and still grow the business despite those challenges.
That's a good question. Well, I think one of the things the FMS taught me is that, marketing isn't just about paid ads. It's about your organic stuff. It's about, it's like an organism. It's your email list. It's your consistency day to day. And I don't think people are stupid, even though ads are running and they do compete. I think people know that's a boot camp. That's 60 people. We do something very different. We target a sort of different demographic, and our organic marketing really reflects that. So again, I'm pushing community. I'm showing Maureen, who's 60 years of age, who's deadlifting and laughing and having fun. So it's almost like an animal with many legs, and people are seeing all these things. So when they see the ad, I think it stands out. And one of the things that has helped me a lot, I think, is really nailing down the type of person that I want to help. And
I think we've recently had great success with that from a paid advertising perspective, as well as all the other efforts that you're doing by finding that right demographic. So just to tell the listeners, who would you say your kind of key demographic are now that you now focus on purely?
Largely, it's 50 plus menopausal women. So I said to you earlier, it was almost like a no-brainer in hindsight, because we're in the gym, we're hearing people talk about the impact of menopause, the sluggishness, the brain fog. What am I doing? I've just lost my train of thought. They can't focus. They're not sleeping. Their nutrition's bad. They're putting on weight. So we ran a sort of 50 plus menopause campaign, which was the most successful one we've done. And again, and as I say, in hindsight, I was like, I should have done this before.
And the reason why it's worked so well is because no one in that area is talking about those specific problems that particular demographic in the area is having. So that message was able to cut through. And now you can kind of position yourself as the expert in that field for that particular demographic. And I've spoken about the 50 plus market a lot. I think it's a really untapped marketplace that's only going to get bigger over time. And that's not, I think, it's actually, I know, because we are in an aging population where we're getting more and more older individuals as the years go on, and that's only going to grow. But also from an impact perspective, these are the people that are going to be so genuinely benefited by the work that you do on a day-to-day basis versus maybe the younger demographic who just want to get in better shape. Mm-hmm. The actual level of impact you're going to be able to create is going to be higher, but also the type of customer you have that is 50 plus. Now, generally speaking, they're more settled in the location. They're not going to move for work or family reasons. They've generally speaking got more disposable income, especially in the area that you're situated as well. So it's such a dreamy type of client to have in the business. What are your thoughts on serving this demographic?
I think as well, I was just thinking as you were saying that, I think people are becoming more educated and more open and more aware that strength training is what they need in the sort of latter stages of life where, Previously, it was the ladies were on the cross trainer and the rowing machine. The men were in the weights room, and there was a separation. So they're really open to learning about strength training for osteoporosis, weight management, mental health, and they're seeing articles in magazines. They're researching the internet, and I think we've got a little bit of a market advantage because we've been pushing it for so long. And I think that's one of the keys to the success as well.
And if we could go back to when you first started the business or the gym, like, was that the initial vision? Did you go, I want to help this demographic, or was it just something that you started to see working and clicking much better than other demographics?
That's an interesting question. I actually started. Hopefully, this is an interesting sort of tale for you. But I actually started with the idea that nobody's doing strength training for 50 plus people. I'm going to make myself stand out by focusing on that and pushing it. And because of the stuff we've talked about me not being ready and my mindset, the business was struggling. And I, not stupidly, but probably made an educated guess that I'm not doing weight loss. I need to start doing weight loss. And we did this sort of bait and switch thing that we talked about earlier. And I created a business that I absolutely hated and lost control of.
Right, let's just quickly pause there because I want to focus on that bait and switch offer. So some people may know what you're talking about, some people don't know, and I think it's really, really important to educate people that are listening right now into what that is and why, although it works initially, can be a very dangerous thing for a business to do. So I will kind of tee up what bait and switch is and what you're referring to, and maybe you can add on to anything that I have missed in your particular circumstance. So this would be where you run there's companies out there where they tell you to run a offer that is free. And it would be, hey, come and take part in our free 6-week challenge or something along the lines. And the marketplace will respond quite heavily. You'll get a lot of people that opt in, but you'll attract a lot of people that want something for free. But the reality is that offer is not actually free. If they want to take part in your free 6-week challenge, they will put down an accountability deposit, which could be £300 or within that range. Now, within the 6 weeks, if they want to get the money back, they have to hit a certain criteria, a certain amount of sessions hit, a weight loss target, maybe check-ins on social media. If they don't hit it, they don't get to keep it. If they do hit it, they can either have the money back or put it towards a membership moving forward. So that's the general. Am I kind of?
The one that there might be different forms. The one that I did was there's just another element to it. So the people who didn't walk out and did jump onto the program, halfway through that program, you did what was called an early bird discount, and you said to them, "Look, you're feeling great. You've lost this already. Let's forget about what we just said and let's put this towards a membership now."
Yeah.
But it's basically,
so a little caveat on top. Now, what people have seen and what happens is businesses will have a surge of leads and a surge of front end sales, and there will be a spike in revenue. And that spike is a sugar rush. And I would call it a false economy because it's not money that's going to be coming in consistently every month, because there's a few things that happen. On the front end, you are putting out a message that is just dishonest. You are lying to the marketplace. Now, the people that are running it after the advice, those aren't the people in the wrong, it's the people that are instructing them. But you're putting out this message, and that can hurt your brand if you continue to put that out. So the first time you put it out, it works really well. The second time, it works quite well. The third time, not so well. And then it starts to work less and less and less, and you start to burn through the trust in the marketplace. But then what also happens is your business might have a very large influx of customers that your business is not ready for, which means that I'm not talking about you specifically here. This is just generally from my experience of speaking to gyms that have done this. A high volume of customers that come through, half of them haven't been serviced well. They leave a bad review, or they just give negative word of mouth into the marketplace. Some do stay, but overall, it creates a lot of chaos, carnage, a quick fix of revenue that then dramatically drops, and it can leave the business in a worse state than it was initially. Now that is from my conversations I've had with many gym owners. What was your experience when you initially did that process?
Yeah, it was exactly that, and I ended up with a gym that was full of people that I didn't really enjoy working with. They were largely weight loss focused members, and a lot of them sort of saw it as a short-term project. So you got your before and after, but it wasn't a long-term thing. And then afterwards, as you say, the revenue dropped and people left. People wanted refunds, getting bad reviews, the stress of, I've created a business that looks bad to people. This is not why I created this business, why I get into this industry. And yeah, it was, I'd lost control. And the coaches, the whole business just lost control. Basically, the coaches had more relationship to these people than I did. And eventually I got to the stage where I said, you know what, I'm going to clear this out and I'm going to go back to what I did, what I imagined originally, which was a place where anybody can come in who's any shape, any fitness, any ability, any sex, and we're going to help them to be consistent, feel good. And if they want weight loss, we can help them. If they want to get away from their kids for 45 minutes, perfect. If you want to eat crap and just train, we're going to help you. We're just going to be an important part of your life. And
before I kind of took a segue onto that rant about the bait and switch offer,
you get angry.
I've spoken to so many people where it has done damage, and it's not anger. It's just I want people to be aware before they make the choice of doing something like that, and just be aware of all the facts, because on the front end it looks great, and then what a lot of these companies will do is also show those front end results, how much money was banked and all that fancy stuff, and it looks really good, but what does the business look like a year down the line, 2 years down the line? And earlier you talked about marketing being like an organism or, an ecosystem. And that's what I believe in. I believe that your marketing should set you up for sales today, sales next week, but sales in 12 months time. So you're planting seeds and harvesting crops simultaneously. So you've got a consistent system, that sounds a bit weird to say, but you've got a consistent process that is generating leads sustainably over a long period of time, rather than this quick fix where there's no long-term plan in place. So I think it's important for people to know. But going back to the marketing, and you explained it really well in terms of the philosophy of what you've learned from us. You've also made more efforts and you're increasing the standards on the organic side of things. So you're posting, is it at least once a day?
At least once a day, yeah.
Nice. How long have you been doing that for now?
Years.
Nice.
It kind of bugs me. It's got the stage where it's like a habit. It bugs me that if I miss a day, it's almost like human nature where you need that little sort of like sugar rush every single day.
Yeah, there's a real theme I'm seeing with you throughout every topic that we've spoken about, and I would say it's that daily consistency, whether it's from the mindset, whether it's from posting on social media every day, or it's from these daily disciplines that you are just consistently doing every single day. And it's like a small effort a day that is getting you the result that you want in the right way. Would you agree with that summary that I've kind of, or characterization?
It's just the compound effect or something like that.
Yes.
Small things every single day.
That's a very good book as well. The Compound Effect. Yeah.
There you go. I should have written that. Where's it there? It's right behind you.
So funny story actually. So I've worked with Ben, the founder of FMA, since the beginning of FMA, and I was late. I was 19 or 20, and the Compound Effect was a book that Ben gifted me, and it was the first proper book I'd read out of school, and that was kind of the first personal development book that I'd ever read, and my brain blew up as I was reading it. So there's another good personal development book if no one's read it, The Compound Effect. It's a pretty short read. You can probably get through it in a week or two. It's not that long, but I would recommend checking that out. But is that kind of a principle that you think runs through your life on a daily basis?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, just consistency. Obviously, you need quality. You need to understand your market. You just can't throw up anything. And I think we've all been guilty, like thinking, shit, what am I going to do today? But just consistency over time equals results, I suppose.
And let's talk about kind of the client acquisition. We've touched on marketing and what you do to get leads and inquiries, and you do lots of different things. So you do ad campaigns, organic content. I'm sure you get referrals. Do you email the list?
Once a week on a Thursday.
Amazing. Awesome. Consistently. Yeah. Love it.
Love it. Every single week.
Yeah. Amazing. And let's kind of move on to the sales process that you have. So what's the process that you do? So we kind of say to people, do one call close. Some people do consultation. What's the process that you currently do?
I always do one call close.
Nice.
Unless that person's really adamant they want to come in and see the place. But do it on the phone.
Nice. And what is it you charge over the phone?
We have what's called a foundation period, which is basically a 30-day trial.
Yeah.
We call it that for a reason, but it's 127 for nice. 30 days, access to 12, small group, plus two hybrid.
Perfect. And what would you say to anyone that feels skeptical about taking 127 over the phone, or thinking, we spoke about this earlier, mindset, belief, going, oh, I couldn't sell someone over the phone, or I can't do that, or how do they do that? What would you say to anyone with that potential hesitation in their mind?
Yeah, it's this is common in the fitness industry, isn't it? I was saying to, I can't remember his name, this your sales guy, Luke, earlier. I had a mentor previously who was a real hard seller. And I've had, like, it hurts me that this happened, but I've had people walk out during a consultation because I pushed them too hard.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, this was because I didn't know any better. It was inexperience again, but they said never take no for an answer. It just means they don't understand type thing.
Yes.
But through experience, and what I do now is don't be an asshole. And yes, we do follow a script and take that person on a journey. But the mindset that I have going into that is this person's actually put their hand up and is looking for my help.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go in and I'm going to ask them the right questions and show them that I can help them, and their life's going to completely change. So I'm helping this person. I'm not selling to them. And
there's definitely a line of, one, not being shy to jump into an objection and see what's going on there. And then on the other side of that line is confrontation. And typically when there's conflict or confrontation, that's when the sale is pretty much lost, because you're no longer in this flow of figuring out what potentially is going wrong. And you should never be shy to explore an objection, but it's the way that you approach that situation. And it could be the question you ask, the tonality that you go into it with, versus, it could be, let's say someone says, I want to think about it. You go, well, what do you want to think about? That is, even there, it feels a little bit confrontational. Yeah. Whereas if you could just, release the tension, but still explore that situation. So, someone says, what do you want to think about? I go, yeah, sure, no problem. Like, how long do you feel you need to think about this, the program? And they go, X amount of days. Okay, cool. Well, look, let's schedule a time and speak then, and then go ahead and get that booked in. And then just say, by the way, just to make sure that I'm organized on my end and have all the information you need, what was it in particular you actually need to think about? And then that's just one example of overcoming the same objection in two different ways. Yeah, and just to explain that, the second way to anyone listening, that when I am asking, what was it you wanted to think about, just so I can be prepared, I've released the sales tension by asking them how long they need to book in a follow-up. So I've released the sales tension, and then I'm able to now ask them what it is they want to think about. And then they will likely tell me the specific thing, or I'll get closer to the answer. And then I can address it there and then, and potentially go ahead and close that and address any uncertainties. That's a little kind of sales objection lesson and rant right there. But that's just an example of potentially maybe a situation you were having where maybe you were going too hard on the close.
What I do, it's maybe similar to what you're saying, but I would always, don't know where I learned this, but I would always side with the person and agree with them, say, look, I fully understand that you need to think about it. Not a problem. There's a lot of information today. Out of curiosity, what is it? What's the main? And just try and explore it a little bit with them rather than be aggressive.
That's it. That's it. You're on a journey with them, and it's about getting them to a destination. And it's not about dragging them over the line. It's about getting them to walk over the line. And you can do that, and you can say the same words in just different ways to be able to get them to walk over, rather than have to kind of drag them and have that real salesy approach. And then in terms of sales, how has the FMA sales training been beneficial to you?
Yeah, I'm probably going to say something that most trainers would say. I feel, I had sales experience. I'm pretty good. I used to be a journalist, so I'm good with dealing with people.
Yeah.
I've worked in recruitment, so basically selling people. But when I joined the fitness marketing agency, it did improve and tighten up things. And the script that I used initially, or you guys provided, really sort of helped me add in elements that I hadn't thought about. Getting people, for example, why is this important to you now to make change in your life? So that person, you're sort of reaffirming that you need to make change, and they're giving themselves reason why they should do it, for example. So it really did improve the sales process.
Yeah, and what I would say to anyone listening to this that think they know how to sell is that, I think I know how to sell, and I've sold quite a lot in the last few years. However, I consistently still look at new trainings on a very regular basis, because if you don't, those skills can quickly fall to the wayside without you even realizing. So I believe you should always be very open-minded about your sales ability and always be open to learning more and improving your performance, just like in any other discipline in life, to be honest. So we've covered marketing, we've covered sales, we've covered a little bit of products and service in terms of what you've done to increase retention. What's your